Well, brethren, if you look into the Bible, there are a lot of names, there are a lot of biblical characters that are just simply unpopular. Yeah, there are people that you haven't heard of. There are people that you have, maybe you have read their names before, but you have not really given them a special attention. Now, one of them is this is actually the topic of my sermonette this afternoon. His name is Mephibosheth. All right? His name is Mephibosheth. Now, I know it's not just hard to recall, but it's also kind of hard to pronounce. And sometimes you might think that, what did Joshua said? Say Mephibosheth, okay? So, this is actually his name. I'm not making it up. His name is first read in 2 Samuel 4 verse 4. 2 Samuel 4 verse 4. Let's go there. In 2 Samuel 4 verse 4, we are introduced to this man. His name is Mephibosheth. Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it happened, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. His name was Mephibosheth. Alright, so that is his name. Now, why am I talking about this particular man? Because in this afternoon, I want to show you, brethren, that his story actually portrays the grace, mercy, and love of Yeshua, of Yahweh toward us. And I want you to realize, brethren, that the story of Mephibosheth is actually our story. Okay? So, his story is actually a relatable story because, as you would see later, how he was treated by David, how he was treated by the king, is also the same way as how we are treated by God. Okay? So, I hope that you are excited to learn more about Mephibosheth. So, in 2 Samuel 4 verse 4, it tells us that at the age of 5, Mephibosheth lost almost everything. He lost his grandfather, King Saul. He lost his father, Jonathan. And he lost I would say that his chance to be the next king. Okay? So if you're going to read the Bible, when King Saul has died, Ishbosheth, yeah, is that the name? I forgot the name. And Mephibosheth, the uncle. The uncle's name is Ishbosheth. I forgot I believe I wrote it here. Yeah, Ishbosheth. So, his uncle tried to establish his own kingdom, but he was eventually dethroned. And so, King David established his throne. So, the next in line to that would be Mephibosheth. Okay? Everyone else in the line of King Saul is already dead, and he is the only one, or as far as I know, he's the next one in line. Alright? So, at the age of 5, because he's the one who's taking care of him, ran in haste, and she dropped Mephibosheth, and she became lame. So that was what happened to him when he was still a child. So after a few years, no one have heard about Mephibosheth anymore. All right? I tried to look into some research, and it says that about 15 to 20 years after that, we would be able to read about Mephibosheth again. And that would lead us to 2 Samuel chapter 9. Okay? So let's go there, brethren. This is where the main story began. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1 says, Now David said, Is there still anyone who is left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? Alright, so we need to remember that David and Jonathan are close friends. Okay, they are actually close friends, and during that time, they made a covenant. If you're going, you don't have to go there, but in 1 Samuel 20 verse 14 to 16, 1 Samuel 20 verses 14 to 16, that was the covenant that they made. Then Jonathan said to David that, And you shall not only show me the kindness of Yahweh while I still live, that I may not die, But you shall not cut off your kindness from my house forever. No, not when Yahweh has cut off every one of the enemies of David from the face of the earth. So, here is King David keeping that promise, that covenant with Jonathan. So, he was asking, is there anyone else who was left in the house of Saul? And so, in verse 2, we read, and there was a servant of the house of Saul whose name was Ziba. So when they had called him to David, the king said to him, are you Ziba? He said, at your service. Then the king said, is there not still someone of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God? Now, this is very interesting, brethren, because it is easy for King David to say that, is there not still someone of the house of Saul to whom I may show my kindness? Alright? So the type of kindness that King David will show is the kindness of God. So this is not a simple kindness. He was saying that I'm going to show the same kindness that Yahweh has shown to me to the person who is left in the house of Saul. So, it's very interesting, brethren, that King David is going to show God's kindness. He's not just going to show his kindness, but it is God's kindness to this man. So, because if you are going to look into this, brethren, if you live during that time of King David, the normal thing to do is that once you establish your throne, you are going to kill every rival. Okay? That's the normal thing to do. You are going to kill the relatives, the potential heir of the throne. So, a lot of people were expecting that King David would eliminate all the house of Saul. But here is King David. He is doing exactly the opposite. Instead of killing the remnants of the house of Saul, he is going to show his kindness. And not just his kindness, but the kindness of God. So, you could see here, brethren, that King David is a different king. He is going to show mercy to the one, to later, as we know, Mephibosheth. Now, look at this, brethren. We read, continuing in verse 3. And Ziba said to the king, there is still a son of Jonathan who is lame in his feet. So the king said to him, where is he? Now, this tells you, brethren, that up to this point, Mephibosheth is actually hiding. Okay? He is hiding because he knows that if he is known, if King David would know where he is, that he's still alive, that he knows that he would most probably be killed by King David. Okay? Now, and Ziba said to the king, indeed, all right, he mentioned that Mephibosheth is still alive. Indeed, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, in Lo-Debar. Now, you can see here, brethren, that Mephibosheth was in his lowest state. Okay? He was supposed to be the next king. And yet, he lives into another person's house. He doesn't even have his own house. Nakikitira lang siya sa ibang tao. And, you know what? Where does he live? He lives in Lo-Debar. Now, if you look into the Hebrew word of Lo-Debar, Debar means Debar means pasture or thing. When you put the word lo, it is a negative form, which is no. It says no. So it means that Lo-Debar is a place of no pasture or nothing. Okay? So this place, Lo-Debar, is not actually a place for kings, for royal families. Okay? So you can see here that Mephibosheth is actually in his lowest state. So, in verse 5, then King David sent and brought him out of the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, from Lo-Debar. Now, when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, so you can see here that the writer is emphasizing that he's actually of royal blood. The son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, had come to David. He fell on his face and prostrated himself. Now, you could just imagine Mephibosheth, if you are in his shoes, okay? When he knew that the servants of King David is maybe in his door or maybe in Lo-Debar, Maybe he's filled with fear. Takot na takot. Oh no, I knew it. This day would come. That King David would know that I am here and he is now going to kill me so that there would be no other rival to his throne. So, you could just imagine his fear. But look at this, brethren. What did David say? Then David said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, here is your servant. So David said to him, do not fear, for I will surely show you kindness for Jonathan your father's sake, and will restore to you all the land of Saul your grandfather. And look at this, brethren, a very beautiful promise from David. And you shall eat bread at my table continually. Now, if you are Mephibosheth, it seems like everything you just heard is unbelievable. Really? Are you really going to do this to me? All right? I'm Mephibosheth, maybe the remnant of a forgotten the dynasty of King Saul, and I am crippled, I am useless, I'm nobody already. You're going to make me, if you're going to, we will read later, okay? What else did David said, okay? And verse 8, he said, then he bowed himself, this is Mephibosheth, and said, what is your servant that you should look upon such a dead dog as I? Can you just imagine, brethren? All the years of living in obscurity made Mephibosheth feel like he is not even a live dog. He is already a dead dog. Di man lang niya naisip na, okay, I'm a dog. But worst of all, he was thinking, I'm a dead dog. I'm not alive. Wala. He is crippled in the feet. Hindi siya makapaglakad. He is just dependent on other people. He is nobody. Kaya I would say that here he was really surprised when he heard the word of David. And with no family to protect him and no physical strength to stand on, Mephibosheth grew up in obscurity, living in Lodebar, a barren place far from the grandeur of his family's former kingdom. To the world, he was nothing but a forgotten remnant of a fallen dynasty. He has no power and no future and seemingly no hope. But look at this, brethren, verse 9. And the king called to Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, I have given to your master's son all that belonged to Saul and to all his household. Grabe. The things that he have lost, King David restored. As for Mephibosheth, he said to the king, he shall eat at my table like one of the king's sons. He was virtually adopted. He was adopted by King David. He was considered to be like one of his sons. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he ate continually at the king's table. And look at this, brethren. It was repeated again. And he was lame in both his feet. Ba't kailangang ulitin pa yun? You know why, brethren? Because aside from what he has been, all these things have been restored to him, it didn't change his physical ailment. He is still lame. And yet, we have seen the grace of King David shown to this man, Mephibosheth. Imagine that, brethren. A man who had been forgotten, crippled, and resigned to a life of insignificance was now sitting at the table of the royal king. Can you just imagine, brethren? One moment, he is a man living in Lodebar, almost hopeless, nothing to live for, and now he is now eating at the royal's table. All right? Now, this is what I want us. Now, after reading this particular story in the Bible, brethren, this is what I want us to remember and realize. All of us are actually Mephibosheth. You and I, in some degree, we are all Mephibosheth. Alright? We too have been broken by sin, by life's hardships, by our own failures. Alright? Like Mephibosheth, we are spiritually crippled, unable to stand before God on our own. Okay? Yet, just as David sought out Mephibosheth, Yahweh is also seeking us out. That's why you are here, brethren. God has called us out of this world. Not because of our worthiness, but because of His love. Now, I want you to remember, brethren, that the story of Mephibosheth is actually a picture of God's grace for all of us. Okay? We might be broken, but He still chose to call us into His family. Romans 5 verse 8, brethren, you don't have to go there, but let me just read to you. Romans 5 verse 8, it says, "But God demonstrates His own love for us in this, while we were still sinners." Okay? God didn't wait for us to repent, to be righteous, but while we were still sinners, Christ already died for us. That's Romans 5 verse 8. So you could see here, brethren, that we have been given a place in God's family, just like Mephibosheth. Alright? He was considered to be one of the king's sons. And now, brethren, God is calling us not just as guests in His family, but we are called the sons and daughters in His family. So, brethren, I hope this is something that has made you realize how God has shown us grace and mercy, that even though we are broken, God is still calling us. Now, this truth is deeply personal to me, okay? Because as you may already know, my son also has physical disabilities. He has the developmental delays. Now, there are days that I wonder, how would my son navigate through life when I am not around anymore? How would he be treated by other people? How would he live his life without us? But you know what, brethren? The Bible, the story of Mephibosheth, gives us hope, alright? Gives us hope that even though if God could call a person who is forgotten, who's already crippled, and place him in the king's table, He can also take my son, your daughter, the people you know who have disabilities. He can also use them for His own glory. And because of that, brethren, I am sure that God is calling us, not based on our ability, not based on our physical abilities, but He is calling us based on His love and grace. So, brethren, I hope the story of Mephibosheth has given you a better insight of the mercy, of the love and grace of Yahweh toward us. So, if ever, brethren, if ever you have felt forgotten, unwanted, or you feel like you are limited by our circumstances, or you feel like you are living in Lodebar, okay? I can tell you, brethren, God has not forgotten you. He sees you, He calls you, and He has a place for you at His table. Hello, friends. I need your help. If this is not too much to ask, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This should only take 5 seconds of your time, but this simple gesture would help me reach more people and share the Word of God with the rest of the world. You have the power to make a difference in people's lives.